I will present you another way of financing energy savings and transition. Yeah, yeah. It is our experience on Intracting. So, sorry, I have to present you a little bit of our city to understand why we did that. We are almost like our colleagues, 20,000 inhabitants. We have a lot of buildings, 90. So it's a very huge expenses for us. And most of these buildings are schools, and they have not been well maintained in the past years. So we have lots of things to do in global renovation on it. You have some technical information about square meters heated, lighting points, and we also worked on new heating network since 19 in our city, because there was no district before. And the objective was to be more independent on energy and to pay less for the winter season. To continue on that presentation, you have some information about our city budget. We have about 6 million general expenses, and a big part of that is coming from energy. So it was a very huge point for us for a very long period to try to reduce that budget, because otherwise we can't invest, we can't do anything else than pay the bill. And we also have an equipment budget about 6 million and a half per year. And as you could know, we organized the Olympic Games in 1992. So we have a lot of expenses also to maintain these buildings and these equipments. And we have a debt reduction target, which is our big problem here in Albertville. And as we are in an alpine environment, we have not extreme, but hard winter season. So the energy consumption is a very high question here for us. So that is our situation initially. We already tried long years ago to act to reduce that important energy consumption, but nothing was really drastically affirmative. And we also have a lack of financial means to heavily invest in our renovation, as I told you, on the whole building stock. And as we couldn't get more and more debt, we have a financial problem. So we discovered in the beginning of 20, I don't remember, 2018, the solution of Stuttgart in Intracting, and we tried to implement it in our city. The three objectives were to act quickly and by our means, because we couldn't wait, we couldn't be able to wait any more time to get energy savings. And we had a lot of big projects to renovate the schools, to invest in the lighting network. But it takes time to get the loans, it takes time to get the subsidies, and we have to pay the bill. So to pay less bill, we have to act quickly and to reduce immediately our savings, our consumption. And we discovered with Stuttgart method that we could also create a virtuous cycle for our energy bills. So it is really simple, as you can see in the slide. You have a fund managed by the financial services, which allow 0% loans to the technical department. These departments are in charge to implement, to find good ideas and to implement them for energy savings. And the energy savings really effective are reinvested the next year into this policy. So you create a virtuous circle. To explain more what we did, we thought about how to create the funds initially, and we decided to get a link between our previous savings, because we did some in 2018, and we calculate the volumes saved in that period with the energy prices in 2019. I did a mistake. And we invested about 113 euros in that policy. And it is a big amount of money for us because it is about 8% of our energy operating budget, as I told you. And we also, at the initiate of the project, decided to study and to choose the first saving measures with 3 criteria. The one was the ecological impact of the measures. We have to get efficiency on the savings, energy savings. We have to add a financial impact. The savings have to be the more immediate possible, and to reduce the expenses and to keep the capacity of investment. And we also wanted to select actions that could offer a multiplier effect. It is to say, to free resources for further investments and not give all the money to just one big project. And to also implicate the more people possible into this strategy. This is one example of what we did. One of the most popular actions were the lighting network, because it was already planned but not budgeted. It is really easy, and you know perfectly that when you invest in your lighting network, you have a return on investment really quickly and with a big amount of money. So we covered all the needs of a financial project from this action, and it permits to accelerate the action plan on that type of measure. And I could also show you buildings investments, car investments, because we change a part of our fleet to get less pollution and less consumption. We also invested in water and so on. But always in the same thinking, you have to prove that the measure coming from the technical department has an ecological impact, financial impact, and multiplier effect. My mouse is losing. So to show you how it works at the end, which are our first results, you can see that we made between 19 and 23 about 774,000 euros of investment. You have also to know that as we were in the COVID period, we put in the strategy 1,002,000 euros, but we couldn't be able to invest all this money because we were stopped with the COVID season. So we now are going to invest all the money back. And this only 7,000 euros of investments already produced 2,050,000 euros of return on investment. So it is really powerful because in this strategy, you choose the best actions you can to invest the faster you can and to get the faster you can the result of your investments. So as you can see, in 2019, we had an energy consumption of our budget about 1,300,000. And in 23, we almost have the same, even if we knew a big crisis on energy these last years. So with this strategy, and almost only with this strategy, we were able to really slow down the expenses on energy. We also worked on the purchase of energy, but the most powerful action was this one. And as you can see, in 2024, we will have about 1 million euros to invest in that strategy, so a big amount of money. We already have contracted between the finance and the technical department for almost 400,000 euros. And we know that already we can count on 200,000 euros of savings. So a big amount of money for us in our energy budget. This is the presentation of where did we generate savings. So you can see that the most is in lighting and electricity, because we choose these actions at the beginning. But we also now are investing more in fuel, in gas, in heating, and we try to develop the water question because it becomes more and more crucial for anyone. So we invested in buildings, in lightings, I can told you, in renovation of our car fleet. We also convinced people to replace cars from bikes. We invested in our basins in the villages for reducing our water consumption. We invested in a basin to stock the water, in some managing equipments to drive on our lighting consumption. Well, large numbers of actions, and we decided to select the more energy sources possible, to implicate the more users possible, the more services possible, to think the people that anyone has something to do in that strategy. And every source of energy is important. I have to tell you that the crucial initial ignition of the system, because if you invest a lot, you get a lot of return as investment. And you can see that we change our financial incomes during the period. At the beginning, we decided to invest only the energy savings, the previous ones. In 2020, we introduced the reimbursement of the first actions. And we introduced also a facultative amortizing of some works in our buildings. And in 2022, we decided to boost the strategy because the return on investment was really interesting. And we decided to put as an income the new electricity tax, which was introduced by the national level, but one part of this tax was for us, for the city. So we decided and convinced the political people that we had to prove that this new tax introduced for the energy transition has to be affected only to the energy transition of the city, because it was important for the people to understand that when they pay the tax, it is affected to the good thing. And this introduction of the tax, as you can see, easily produce a very important acceleration on the incomes. So we had to think about what to do with all that money. And we can say that this tool has multi-dimension aspects. One part of it is policy and organization. So you introduce a virtuous circle for sobriety and energy transition in your budget. You strengthen also the partnership between technique and finance departments. So they work to reach the same goal, to reach the energy transition and help the municipality to get the objective put into action. And what was very important and very interesting as a return on experience from this strategy for us was to discover that the services were able to show more autonomy and creativity with that tool. They had a better recognition of their expertise because they were able to present, to propose actions, to get a very huge impact on energy savings by their own creativity. And they obtain more legitimacy on their actions after that. And as it is very powerful on financial aspects and technical aspects, we are now convinced that we protected the fund longevity because it is powerful. So we don't have any more to justify what we do, what we propose. On the financial part, I also told you about the multiplier effect of the financial actions. You can, for evidence, increase your independence on your savings. We decided, as I told you, to boost the tool to get a bigger impact at the beginning, because otherwise you can finance small projects, but at the end, if there is not large impact, the politician people will tell you, well, we can do anything else with that money. It's not very powerful. So you have to be very attentive to that part of a strategy to boost it at the beginning. On the energy efficiency and the environmental protection, there is no doubt it works. And for us, it is important to get clear and concerted rules to be efficient. And we choose to get a simple internal tool and to concert all the users in continuously demarche to get this concertation. There is no external regulation. So for one part, it is a very woo effect on the organization. For one time, you can do what you want, as you want, with your internal regulation. So that's really nice to be able to do that. And we choose also a continuous improvement approach by getting more resources involved, more people involved. I can tell you so that for us, it was important to get a big legitimacy of the origin of the fund at the beginning, but now it's not a problem. It is so powerful that it is not questioned by the municipality. And the only obstacles we had to overcome was the need to finance over heavy investments. But we explained that if we didn't do savings, we are not able to invest in these huge projects because we can't have more debt. So we have no issue other than getting savings. And there was no obstacle at the beginning because the fund was limited in amount at the beginning. So nobody was afraid with that. So we can prove with the initial actions that it works, and it's not against other projects, but it is a solution to get more savings and new possibility to invest in other things after that. And the new challenge for us now is to use the fund in larger operations, larger projects. And we are able to do so because we have, as our first mentor said, we were in capacity to do that because we have auditings, we have action plans, and with the Intracting fund, we have funds, we have resources to invest. So we can choose the best actions to invest in that strategy and to use that tool into our energy transition policy. Well, I hope I'm clear.
Thank you very much, Sandrine.
There
are already some questions. That's your last slide, right?
Yeah. We can go to the questions.
Perfect.
It is not very complicated. It is a simple tool in the thinking of that. The best is to put it into action with different people, different services.
It's simple, but it's not always easy to start, right? To come up with this idea to set this scheme.
You have to
Could you tell us about that? What was the most challenging way to even start thinking about it and set it up? And who did you need to convince, and how did you do it?
Well, it was not really a creation for us because, as I told you, we were not in a position to be able to choose between doing savings or not doing savings. We had to find a solution to do savings. And if we had selected only big projects with a lot of debt, a lot of loans, a lot of subsidies, we couldn't have reached that goal of getting the quicker we could the savings for the budget. So we had no choice. So nobody had to be convinced that we had to act on that goal. After that, why Intracting and why not another tool? The Intracting was a good tool for the technical departments because they understood very quickly that it was a very nice tool for them. They are guaranteed to be able to act. They can propose things because they are in position of who is knowing what to do, nobody else. And they were the big force to convince other people. And for the financial department I represent, it was a very big opportunity because I was already convinced that I could get savings from the finance measures. So there was no very big work to convince and to introduce it into the city. The best work we had to do is to think about which actions to select at the beginning and which amount of money to put on the table at the beginning. And as I told you, at the initiation of the fund, it was easy to put an amount of money. It was not so easy to spend all this amount of money because we were blocked with the COVID crisis. So we have now to prove that we are able to use all the amount of money in 2024. But it is the case because we already how to use all the money, and we all only are in March, so it's no more a problem. But it was one of our threats
Mm-hmm.
to
Yes, it's
protect
crazy
it.
times.
Yeah, to protect it, we have to prove that we are able to invest in actions and to get more return on investments, because our municipality otherwise will say, I have other projects to invest and to keep the money to do anything else.
Mm-hmm. And can we also ask you to double check if you have calculated the total amount of investment you would need to comply with your strategy, and how much of this total investment you would be able to cover with investing the achieved savings through the Intracting pot?
I'm not sure to understand your question. I try to answer.
I understand, Julia, maybe you want to elaborate, but I understand that you have a huge transformation also to do in your city, and how much of this transformation can be financed through this scheme. Julia,
Well,
please do step in if this is not what you meant.
As you can see, we have about 6 million euros per year to invest. We are able to do that investment per year. The most part of this investment is for the maintenance of our patrimony, buildings and lighting networks and so on. And we are now able to invest 1 million per year with that tool. So it's enormous, because we introduced the energy tax, the electricity tax, as an income. So we are now able to finance a part of our EPC with that. So we can be more ambitious on EPC strategy, and to get a link with the other people. We are now thinking also about introducing solar panels on our roofs in schools with the help of this Intracting fund. And we think, as Chris did, by introducing users and people inside of that, but to get a bigger impact, to invest also our municipal incomes on that strategy. So it helped us to get a step after, to be more ambitious, because we reserve a part of our incomes to our energy transition. And it is the force of that system, of that strategy. You oblige the municipality to protect a part of its budget to invest in that transition energy.
Thank you. And moving on to the next few questions, just to double check, is the fund managed by the city via the city budget, or did you create an SPV or some other mechanism to manage it? And also, what is the difference between Intracting in your case and a revolving fund, because it seems similar?
Yeah, it's the same logic that revolving fund, because we are inventing a revolving income to a municipal fund. And we are monitoring this fund by our own. It is just a monitoring, an extra monitoring from our budget, but inside of our budget, we have a dedicated credit to finance the fund. So it is linked between the budget and an extra monitoring. And it's our own tool, because there is no regulation on that aspect.
Thanks. And have you experienced a change of administration of the local leaders since you created the scheme? Do you think this political change could affect the continuation of the fund?
It is one question because we have elections in 2026. But if we continue to prove that it is so powerful, I can't imagine that another municipality can change its strategy. Not in Albertville, for my opinion, because we still have a big amount of bill to pay, and we have no choice. We still have no choice. We have to continue in that way. What could a new municipality does is to change the selection of actions, to decide to keep a part of electricity tax, to do something else, but to totally end the fund, I don't believe, because it is so nice to have so many savings. I don't know how I could have done this year budget without that tool.
Which is a pretty strong recommendation.
Yeah.
And we have one more question or kind request, if you could explain again the practicalities of starting the scheme. So what in practical terms you had to do to create the scheme?
As there is no regulation, you created that tool at any time. We decided to do that in the mid of 2019. And we introduced, we selected inside our budget a part of credits dedicated to the fund in the mid 2019. So you can introduce it when you want. There is the question to ask is, how many amount of money do I put into that tool at the beginning? And do you do, as we did, a link between your previous savings, if you get some or not? Or do you decide to say, well, this year I will put 100,000 euros in my budget for that, for example? And you begin with that, and your finance actions in 2024 will reimburse the fund in 2025. But I can really recommend you to do as we did, to boost the fund at the beginning. Otherwise, the return on investments will be short if you don't invest a lot. So it won't be very powerful at the beginning, and you will have more difficulties to convince people that it is important to get that tool in place, to get savings and to get facilities for your budget. So the most you invest at the beginning, the best it is. And you can also choose to invest a big amount of money at the beginning and to stop to get incomes inside, except the reimbursement of your actions. If you want to have a big impact, it is a financial strategy you have to build to choose how to do. As we are very concerned with our energy consumption and our limiting amount of budget, we choose to continue to have this boosting effect on the long term. But it's not an obligation. There is no regulation.
Thank you, Sandrine. I can imagine it's difficult. A difficulty in some places, in some organizations, might be to avoid the temptation to use those savings on something else that is not really energy related. And here it's really building the trust and understanding and awareness across the whole organization with your colleagues as well. Thank you very much.